Most people believe relationships fail because of poor communication, mismatched expectations, welcome to emotional shadow or emotional incompatibility. But beneath the surface, there are hidden rules silently shaping the direction of modern love. Rules no one talks about. Rules most people don't even know they're following. And rules that decide who stays, who leaves, who gets hurt, and who ends up feeling like they were never enough. The uncomfortable truth is that relationships today are not guided only by love or loyalty. They are guided by invisible forces that operate in every conversation, every conflict, and every moment of emotional distance. And these forces don't just influence how we love. They decide the outcome long before either person realizes what's happening. To understand these hidden rules, we need to step back into the history of human connection, where psychological theories and cultural shifts began shaping how we understand intimacy itself. Early attachment research by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth revealed that human relationships follow predictable patterns rooted in childhood. But what no one expected was how those attachment styles would transform under modern pressure's social influence. Digital communication, instant validation, comparison, culture, and the demand for emotional perfection. Relationships that once depended on physical presence and shared responsibility now depend heavily on psychological compatibility and emotional skill. And that shift created a new relationship landscape with new rules, new dangers, and new ways love can fall apart. The origins of these hidden rules began as society moved from survival-based partnerships to emotional-based ones. Centuries ago, people didn't ask if their partner understood their emotional needs. They asked if they could survive together. But as life became more comfortable, relationships evolved from practical alliances into emotional sanctuaries. The expectation shifted from shared duty to shared emotional fulfillment. And with that shift came a rise in standards. People now expect their partner to be a best friend, a support system, a healer, an advisor, a soulmate, and a protector. Yet very few are taught how to meet those expectations. This gap between expectation and skill became the birthplace of modern relational conflict. As the expectations grew, so did the unspoken rules. One of the earliest was the rule of emotional availability. The belief that a good partner must always be open, responsive, understanding, and perfectly attuned. Another was the rule of transparency, the idea that withholding feelings is automatically toxic. But these rules ignored a crucial reality. Humans are inconsistent. Emotions fluctuate. People need space, and vulnerability takes time. Because the rules were unrealistic, people began believing that normal relationship challenges were signs of doom, causing partners to pull back or leave far earlier than past generations. This laid the foundation for emotional instability in modern love. As these rules took hold, the impact became visible in small moments. The text that wasn't answered fast enough, the emotional reactions someone didn't understand, the need for reassurance interpreted as weakness, the desire for space seen as rejection. Couples began misreading each other, not because they were wrong for each other, but because they were unknowingly following rules that punished emotional imperfection. One partner's silence was read as abandonment. One partner's anger was seen as emotional immaturity. One partner's confusion was labeled as disinterest. And slowly, relationships became fragile under the weight of expectations neither partner could fulfill. Then came the breaking points. Conflicts began escalating not because the issues were severe, but because both partners felt pressured to communicate perfectly, something no human being can do. Arguments that could have been resolved with patience turned into emotional explosions. Misunderstandings that required clarity turned into accusations. And emotional needs that required gentleness turned into silent resentments. When partners felt they were failing to meet the invisible rules, those rules like always stay calm, never withdraw, or be emotionally consistent, they began feeling inadequate and defensive. This defensiveness often signaled the beginning of relational decline. When the breaking points accumulated, the emotional fallout began. Partners felt misunderstood even when they tried. They felt rejected even when they cared. Emotional intimacy weakened, not because the relationship lacked love, but because it lacked space for imperfection. Many couples attempted to fix these problems by reading communication advice, practicing perfect conversations, or suppressing their real emotional rhythms. But these attempts often failed because they didn't address the core issue. The hidden rules themselves were flawed. They created pressure, self-doubt, and a constant sense of relational performance that no relationship can survive long-term. As the world modernized even further, these hidden rules collided with technology and social influence, creating new relational challenges. Data from multiple psychological studies now shows alarming patterns. Comparison through social media significantly increases relational dissatisfaction. Instant messaging creates unrealistic expectations for emotional availability. And the rise of microvalidation likes, comments, attention, shifts emotional dependency outside the relationship. People no longer compare their relationship to their parents' marriage. They compare it to curated online perfection. This comparison creates a subtle form of manipulation, not from partners, but from the environment itself. And communication breakdowns repeat because partners are no longer speaking only to each other. They are speaking in a world full of noise, expectations, and invisible pressures shaping every emotional exchange. In modern relationships, 3 hidden rules show up more than any others. The first is the rule of constant connection, the belief that distance equals danger. The second is the rule of emotional reading, the expectation that a partner must automatically understand your needs without clear communication. The third is the rule of instant repair, the pressure to resolve conflict immediately, even when both partners are emotionally flooded. These rules undermine emotional safety by forcing partners to rush healing, guess feelings, or overcommunicate, when silence or space would be healthier. Understanding these hidden rules leads to 3 powerful takeaways. First, emotional connection does not mean constant communication. Healthy love allows space to think, space to breathe, and space to process. The strongest relationships are not the ones with constant closeness, but the ones where distance does not create fear. Second, transparency does not mean mine. Communication becomes healthier when people express needs directly instead of expecting their partner to decode signals or emotional hints. Third, conflict resolution is not a race. Sometimes stepping back is the key to stepping closer. When partners regulate their emotions before resolving issues, love becomes more resilient and less reactive. All of this leads to one final caution. Modern love feels fragile, not because people love less, but because the rules they follow leave no room for human imperfection. Real connection is not built on performance. It's built on patience, understanding, and the willingness to navigate the messy parts of each other's emotions. Relationships survive not because partners always get it right, but because they remain willing to learn, adjust, apologize, and grow. For anyone listening, this is your reminder that love has never been about perfection. It has always been about presence. If you want to keep exploring the deeper forces that shape connection, communication, and emotional intimacy, subscribe to the channel, join the community, and continue the journey of understanding relationships on a level most people never reach.